That's why Miss Gillette is doing this. My attorney already told me Miss Gillette does not like me. That comes
Right
from Miss
now,
Gillette to my attorney.
right
That's
now,
a conflict of interest. And on the record and for the record, and let the record show.
okay, Mr. Perez Beal.
On the record, on and for the record, and let the record show, I have the
Okay,
right to
now
face
hold
my
on, hold
accuser,
on.
and the accuser
Stop.
must be a
Stop.
living man or woman.
Stop.
Therefore, I move to dismiss the case entirely. Must my accuser be a living man or woman?
A man was in court today facing a trespassing charge, and he began his appearance by making what's known as a sovereign citizen claim, saying he's a living man and not subject to the court's authority. He seemed to believe that this argument might somehow exempt him from the legal process. What's interesting is how the judge responded, calmly, firmly, and with complete control of the courtroom. Despite the man's unusual statements, the judge didn't lose composure and kept things professional. It was a good example of how experienced judges handle disruptions with patience and authority. One thing that always
Here, State of Kansas versus Antonio Manuel Perez Beal. Are you Antonio Manuel Perez Beal?
Yes, sir, I am. Yes, Your Honor, I am.
All right, Mr. Perez Beal, do you have an attorney?
No, I do not. But I do believe I have the right to face my accuser. And on the record and for the record, and let the record show.
Okay, Mr. Perez Beal, this is your first appearance. You are charged in count 1 with criminal trespass, a Class B non-person misdemeanor. A Class B non-person misdemeanor is punishable up to 6 months in the county jail and a fine not to exceed $1,000. Do you understand what you're charged with?
On the record, on and for the record, and let the record show, I have the right to face my accuser, and the accuser must be a living man or woman.
Stop.
Therefore, I move to dismiss the case entirely.
Well, that's not going to be done. Mr. Perez Beal, I asked you a question. Do you understand what you're charged with?
No, I do not.
All right. What is it that you don't understand about the criminal trespass charge?
I don't know why I'm being charged with a criminal trespass. I have a picture of me and my children over there on November 23rd or 27th. I'd have to go back and date it. My livestock, please let me finish, Your Honor. My livestock come up missing. Whenever that man, I had that leased. Whenever that man come down here, my hot wire come up missing. The fence that divided our two properties. He cut a hole in his fence. I have a witness who is a neighbor stating that he's seen a young man and a young woman out there removing that hot wire. I've never once had a problem. He showed up, our hot wire come up missing, and a hole got in the fence. Whenever that happened, I called one of your deputies, Deputy Joe Love. He showed up to the scene.
All right, Mr. Perez.
I have a right to look for my missing livestock.
Mr. Perez Beal,
I'm filing an interlocutory appeal.
You need to stop talking for a moment. This is a first appearance.
Well, this is wrong.
Raises questions is why people in these situations don't simply hire a lawyer. If you're unfamiliar with how the law works, a trained attorney can make a huge difference. Instead, some individuals try to represent themselves and argue with the judge, which rarely works out well. In this case, the man spent his time saying things that had no legal basis instead of listening to the judge or taking the opportunity to get help. At one point, it felt like he was treating the courtroom like a stage rather than a serious legal setting. Still, because this was his first appearance, there's some room to give him the benefit of the doubt. From what he said, it seems he doesn't trust the court-appointed attorney, possibly thinking the system is against him. But court-appointed lawyers are there to help. They don't know the person personally. And
this is a first appearance. At that time, what I do is I go over the charges, what the potential penalties are, and try to explain to you your rights. Please do not interrupt any further. Do not go off on tangents. I'll have some questions for you that you'll need to address. First of all, in regards to your rights, you have the right to a trial, either to the court or if you request in writing a request for a jury trial. At a trial, the state has the burden of proof. The burden of proof in a criminal case is beyond a reasonable doubt. At a trial, you have the right to be represented by an attorney or to represent yourself. You understand you have the right to, at a trial, to cross-examine the state's witnesses and to call witnesses on your own behalf. You may use the court subpoena power to be sure that other witnesses appear. Do you understand these rights?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, at a trial, beyond the right to cross-examining the state's witnesses and calling witnesses on your own behalf, you have the right to either testify or not testify as you see fit. If you choose not to testify, then then that cannot be considered against you into determining if you're guilty or not guilty.
Must my accuser be a living man or woman?
Okay, Mr. Perez-Beal, I'm not sure where you're getting this.
The Sixth Amendment.
All right, this is the first appearance, as I've indicated before. Now, if you wish to be represented by an attorney, you can hire one or you can apply to the court if you choose.
Let's take this to trial. Jury, I want a jury trial.
All right, if you're, first of all, let's answer the question about the attorney. Are you going to represent yourself or are you going to hire an attorney?
I will, at this point, I'll represent myself. And if I have the fine.
You blocked out, Mr. Perez-Beal.
Can you hear me now?
And now I can hear you. The last thing I heard before it blacked out was in regards to you're going to be representing yourself and that you
I will represent myself unless I'm financially able to hire an attorney. But last time I spoke to my attorney, Mrs. Mary Ann Shirley, she told me that Judge Jill Gillette does not like me. That's where all this is coming from.
First of all, Ms. Gillette is not the judge. I am.
I misspoke.
You've been before me before.
Yes, sir. I know.
All right. So are you still on probation?
Yes, sir. As far as I know.
Well, if you're on probation and convicted of a new offense, that'll be a violation of that probation.
That's why Miss Gillette is doing this. My attorney already told me Miss Gillette does not like me. That comes from Miss Gillette to my attorney. That's a conflict of interest.
Have no reason to sabotage their case. They're simply doing their job. When people reject legal help and try to go it alone, they often end up making things harder for themselves. And when things don't go their way, they blame the system instead of looking at how their own choices may have affected the outcome. Now, there was a funny moment when it seemed like the man misunderstood something the judge said and thought it was directed at him. It was almost comical, but it also showed he may have been overwhelmed or confused. Initially, he gave off the impression of being a typical sovereign citizen by using those common catchphrases. But later on, he was more respectful, even calling the judge sir, and hinted that he might get a lawyer. That's more self-awareness than many others in similar situations show, and it could be a step in the right direction. The hearing wrapped up with the judge suggesting he go to the sheriff's.
Right now, you don't have an attorney on this case. Is Ms. Mary Ann Shirley going to be, are you going to hire her on this case?
I will talk to her, but Gillette knows what she's doing. She likes tearing families apart. What happened when karma finally
Mr. Perez-Beal, you've indicated that you want a trial. And you also indicated that you wanted to have a trial by jury. To do that, you have to file a written request for a misdemeanor.
I have to file a written request?
If you are going to be representing yourself, you need to understand there's disadvantages in that. One disadvantage is I don't believe you have the training that an attorney has.
No, but I also don't have everything I make's going to try and keep our home and stay afloat right now.
Right. As I indicated before, if you wish to have an attorney but cannot afford an attorney, you can apply to the court. If you meet the financial guidelines, then I would appoint an attorney to represent you. If that may not be an attorney that you select.
I will talk to Miss Mary Ann Shirley.
All right. So if you're going to talk with an attorney, typically what we do is we schedule another hearing to give you that opportunity. And we call that a control hearing or a status hearing. Do you wish to do that, or do you wish to go ahead and schedule a trial?
If we schedule a trial and I show up with an attorney, will that be allowed?
Well, it would, but if you're asking for a jury trial, there's certain things that you have to do. Right now, you're representing yourself. That can be, you need to understand that the disadvantage that people have by doing that sometimes is more than others, but you will be required to follow the rules as you are an attorney if you're representing yourself. Most people don't know what those rules are and so forth. So that presents a real disadvantage at times. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you're going to apply for an attorney or talk with Ms. Shirley, what I'll do is schedule a control hearing. That is not waiving your right to a trial. All right. If that control hearing or status conference, which we'll set in about 30 days, if you still wish to have a trial, we'll schedule that. We can schedule for either in person, either before the court, or you can be represented. If you wish to have a jury trial, you need to have your request made in writing for that. And we would schedule a trial by jury. Now, there was a hearing that was scheduled on December 13th, and you did not appear at that time. I issued a bench warrant, and you had been served with a summons. Now, later that day, you contacted the clerk's office, and then you did surrender yourself and posted a $5,000 cash or surety bond, and that bond is still in effect. All right.
Yes, Your Honor.
So
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you guys office for a future Zoom hearing, likely to ensure he takes things seriously? Being surrounded by law enforcement might help him stay focused and cooperative. At the end of the day, it looks like this man might be reconsidering his approach. Hiring a lawyer could help him avoid serious consequences, especially since he's already on probation and a conviction could mean jail time. So what do you think? Was this just someone who got bad advice and panicked, or is he truly committed to the sovereign citizen ideology? Either way, there's a chance he's starting to realize that navigating the legal system is best left to professionals. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Take care.
You need to be sure that you appear as directed for later hearings. Now, let's go ahead and schedule this for a control hearing to give you an opportunity, Mr. Perez-Beal, to speak with an attorney of your choice or to apply for an attorney. Please do not wait until the last minute to do that hearing, if you're going to apply. If you're going to apply, do so in the next few days. If you're able to hire an attorney of your choice, that's fine. Then the court-appointed attorney would be released from dealing with the case. All right. Now, January 31st at 3 p.m.
January 31st at 3 p.m.
Okay, Mr. Perez-Beal, you're breaking up a little bit
And
on your connection.
Can you hear me fine now?
Well, it comes and goes. Right now, yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear
Now we can't hear you.
me fine now?
There's also a time delay. I'll see your lips move and then we'll hear the sound. We call it lag, or I call it lag. Mr. Perez-Beal, now you're frozen and haven't been able to hear you for the last 30 seconds or so.
I'd just like to make a statement.
Well, you've made some statements, but
Can you hear me
right now
now?
we're scheduling January 31st.
How about now? Are you able to hear me?
Now I was able to hear you. You interrupt me, but our next court hearing is January the 31st at 3 p.m. That will be a Zoom hearing. You understand? Do you have that? Mr. Perez-Beal, did you hear the date?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you repeat the date so I know that you've got it, please?
January 31st at 3 p.m.
Correct. Because
By Zoom.
that'll be a Zoom hearing, but I want you to appear at the sheriff's office so that we don't have this problem here. If you have an attorney and the attorney would prefer to have you there at their office to do the hearing, then that's fine too. So if Ms. Shirley is going to be your attorney, you hire her, and she wants you to be but you need to be at one of those two places, either the attorney's office or at the sheriff's office where they have the equipment, and we can be relatively sure that you're going to have a good connection. Because in this hearing, we haven't had a good connection.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's the things that we needed to cover for today. So this matter will be adjourned, and we'll see you on January 31st at 3. So Mr. Perez-Beal's case is adjourned at this time. All right. Next matter we'll take up is. All right. I need you to mute him, Aaron.